Namaskaraha and welcome to our next session on the yogic life. So before we start reading our pravachan, so I wanted to talk a little bit about having an intimate relationship with Paramapurusha. So we've been always been talking about that ultimate goal of our life is to attain Paramapurusha. So in order to attain this our ultimate goal, in order to reach the ultimate goal of spirituality, it is absolutely essential for a sadhaka to cultivate an intimate relationship with Paramapurusha. In order to have Paramapurusha's close proximity, one should have a personal relationship or a bhava with Paramapurusha. So how do we how do we compare this relationship that we have with the Paramapurusha? We can take a laukika udarana like a child. A child has a very, very close relationship with its mother, right? A child has a close relationship with its mother, but it does not have that kind of a relationship with, let's say, a shopkeeper. So with respect to its mother, the child has surrendered everything to its mother. So when the mother holds the child's hand to walk, then the small child will be very happy, and it will just be walking, and it will not be scared of anything around. But on the other hand, if the child is walking with a shopkeeper, let's say, then it is possible that the child will start crying. The reason for that is when it is going with its mother, it has a very, very deep loving relationship with its mother, and therefore the child knows the mother will take care of it, and the child is completely surrendered to its mother. So it knows that mother will completely protect the child, and child is like happily going, no responsibility, and it knows that its mother is there holding its hand, right? So the concept of surrender comes from there. So the surrender, when we say surrender, it depends on the degree of intimacy we have with somebody else. So a child surrenders to its mother because it is very, very intimate with its mother. So there is no secrets between the child and the mother. The child will say everything to its mother. So if you're intimate with somebody, then you'll be like, for instance, an adult. If they're intimate with somebody, then they will be very open with that individual. They will even be happy to give their entire wallet to them, right? Let's say the wallet has a lot of money, and they will be comfortable to give their wallet to them. They'll be able to share everything with them, right? On the other hand, if the relationship is very superficial, very artificial, then what will happen is that in your mind you'll have different thoughts, and you will hide 99% of your mental thoughts from the other person. So the desire of any sadhaka is to realize Paramapurusha. So the worst approach is to think that Paramapurusha is somewhere in some other world, or that he is living in the seventh sky. So these are all dogmatic approaches, right? But on the path of bhakti, so Paramapurusha is like a family member. He's a very, very close, we have a close relationship with him, and he's a trusted family member. And as the intimacy with Paramapurusha grows, then it comes to a stage where you are not separate from Paramapurusha. The Paramapurusha and you become one. So that kind of intimacy needs to grow. So when the intimacy grows with Paramapurusha, then accordingly the degree of surrender also grows, right? So with a third party, you don't have that kind of intimacy. You will not surrender to a third party. Like for instance, the way the child surrenders to its mother, like that, we will not surrender to some third party. We will surrender to somebody only with whom we have a very, very close and a loving relationship. So if one has a very close relationship with somebody, then there is 100% surrender. Then there will be no secrets between you and the other person. Similarly, in spiritual life, that is the most exalted state, the highest state, when one depends 100% on Paramapurusha. When one depends 100% on Paramatma, that is actually called as bhakti, right? If the sadhaka thinks Paramapurusha is very, very far, right? They if you think that you don't have that kind of bhakti, if Paramapurusha is very far, then how do we develop that bhakti? You develop that bhakti by engaging with Paramapurusha in your sadhana. So when you engage with Paramapurusha in your sadhana, slowly your bhakti, your intimacy with Paramapurusha grows. Your love for Paramapurusha grows. When that love grows, then what happens is the distance between you and Paramapurusha keeps decreasing. Day by day it keeps decreasing, and then you will have such kind of deep love that you will feel that your heart is just going to burst open with love for Paramapurusha. And it so happens that one day you will feel that Paramapurusha is very, very close, and ultimately you become one with Paramapurusha. In that stage, there is no difference between you and him. There is no room for the small ahankara, your small I. There is no room for small I. At that point in time, when you have such a deep loving relationship with Paramapurusha, that you cannot think of anything else. You think of only Paramapurusha day and night. And when that stage comes, then you become automatically one with Paramapurusha. And everybody in this universe, every human being with a mind, has a potential for this kind of heightened bhakti. And this is the way that the sadhakas of the past have moved forward and attained Paramapurusha. In the present and also in the future, this is the path of bhakti, right? So when you have the deep bhakti with Paramapurusha, then you don't need anything else, right? You are happy. You don't want anything else in your life. It is very easy to open your heart to Paramapurusha. So when one is not feeling close to Paramapurusha, then you can't express your intimate feelings with Paramapurusha. So it's not that Paramapurusha knows everything. He knows the secrets of your heart. He knows everything. Even the things that you have not shared with anybody in this world, he knows even those secrets. He knows not only your present, he also knows your past, he also knows your future. So he is the only entity in this world who knows everything about you, right? You might be thinking, oh, I have some secrets in my mind I have not shared to anybody in this world, only I know it. But no, but he knows, Paramapurusha knows everything, even the hidden secrets of your heart, right? So he already knows everything. So what is the harm in being open with him, right? It's not like you're going to tell him something new. But even then, when you develop that kind of relationship with him, when you feel that intimacy where you don't want to keep any secrets with Paramapurusha, then what happens? You develop this kind of a loving relationship with him, and the distance between you and Paramapurusha keeps decreasing. So when there is a distance between you and Paramapurusha, that kind of a distance is detrimental to one's spiritual progress. So when you have secrets in your heart which you haven't shared with Paramapurusha, then that is detrimental to your spiritual progress. You should have an open and intimate relationship. If you cannot express the deep inner feelings of your heart, right, with Paramapurusha, then who will you actually feel close with? Who is this bandhu in this world? Other than Paramapurusha, who else can be the bandhu? Every relationship in this world that you have is all temporary. The son and the husband and the wife and your father and your mother and your relatives, everything in this world is temporary. Nothing is permanent. So you shared your secrets of your heart to somebody in this world, and you felt that this relationship is permanent, and you felt that you can share the secrets with that person even tomorrow. But then you never know tomorrow whether that person is going to be there or we are going to be there, right? So that relationship is temporary. So every relationship in this world is temporary. Everybody is like a passenger in the train. We meet and then we depart. We meet and we depart. Who is that entity who is going to be there with you all the time? That is Paramapurusha. So there is no harm in surrendering to Paramapurusha. So an intimate link is needed with that supreme entity, and by his grace the sadhaka will easily surrender unto him, right? So you can surrender unto Paramapurusha by engaging in sadhana. We have to engage in sadhana. If you're not engaging in sadhana, if you're not engaging in meditation, what is the purpose of this life? There is no purpose of this life. The purpose of this life is not just to eat and while away your time doing all different kinds of things. No, that is not the aim of life. The goal of life is to engage with Paramapurusha. Paramapurusha is everything for us, right? When you have that kind of an intimate relationship, a link with the supreme entity, then there will be nothing in this world that'll actually bother you, right? So the mundane relationships of the world are not dependable; they are all temporary. But if you open your heart, right, to those people, there is a big risk involved, because one day the next person may become very distant, and you were very close to somebody and you were considering that person as very thick friend, but then tomorrow something happens and that person becomes very distant from you, or he might exploit you, or they will have a poor opinion about you. Then that relationship is gone, right? You no longer have that friendship with that person. But then you know so therefore, sharing your heart to another person, another human being, is actually very scary, and it can be unpredictable, right? So that is one of the reasons why people do not open their heart to the other person. They're always having this fear, oh, can I trust this person, can I trust this person? But with Paramapurusha, it is completely different. He knows more about you than you know about yourself. You do not know where you were 200 years ago, right? But he knows. Likewise, there are some things which you are very ashamed to tell somebody, but even those things he knows, right? So he knows everything about you. There is nothing about you that he doesn't know. He understands everything about you, and even though he knows all your demerits, right, all your bad habits, your demerits, he knows, but still he loves you, right? Then it is very easy to open your heart to him. He is not judgmental about you, right? So you can open your heart to him, and he is always having his loving hands for you. So an intimate relationship means there is no gap, or there is no shyness involved. There is 100% transparency of feelings. That is indicative of a close proximity. That can happen only with Paramapurusha. To achieve this, you need regularity and sincerity in sadhana. So you cannot develop the relationship, this intimate relationship with somebody, without having this regularity and sincerity in meditation or sadhana. So this is not a theoretical concept, and the bhaktas who engage in the sadhana will realize this. They realize this every day, day by day. Their relationship with Paramapurusha, their love for Paramapurusha, is day by day increasing. Paramapurusha, who seemed very distant before they were engaging in sadhana, now seems more close, right? He seems like he's like a friend. He's there with you all the time, right? For those people who lack this relationship with Paramapurusha, bhakti is a theoretical concept. So gradually anyone can develop this kind of relationship with Paramapurusha. So then in your mind, Paramapurusha will not be like an entity who is in the faraway sky or heaven, but rather the most loving one of your heart and mind, and who is always with you. That is why one's relationship with Paramapurusha is very meaningful. To surrender, there must be a close and intimate relationship between a bhakta and Paramapurusha. Otherwise, one cannot go close nor become one with him. So having an intimate relationship is the key over here, right? So in fact, in this world, there is nobody who is an atheist, right? Everyone wants to know the supreme entity. They are the people who are not happy with the dogmatic definitions of God, right? So they develop this atheistic feeling in their mind. They become skeptical and they remain as atheists. But in times of tragedy, the so-called atheists, they also ask for help from Paramapurusha. Outwardly they may not admit this, but inwardly they also ask for help from Paramapurusha. This kind of demonstrates that even they have some kind of relationship with Paramapurusha, however distant that relation may be, right? So those who identify themselves as atheists are really nothing but hypocrites, right? And some people, due to dogma, right, they think that Paramapurusha is in some heaven, right? They feel he's very he's mighty, and if I do something wrong, he will punish me. This is also one type of relationship with Paramapurusha, right? So then again, due to dogma, others think that Paramapurusha is great and he resides in in some houses of worship, right? So I cannot communicate with Paramapurusha directly, therefore I have to go through a priest, or I have to go through a purohit, or I have to go through somebody. I cannot have a direct relationship with the Paramapurusha, or I cannot have direct link with him. So even they're those kind of people, right? And then there are some people who are having this guru shishya discipline, right? Guru shishya discipline, there is a kind of a discipline between a guru and shishya. It has a own boundary line, and it cannot go beyond that boundary line, right? But if the mind of the sadhaka is developed, if the mind of the sadhaka is open, they feel that Paramapurusha is my father. Paramapurusha is my father, regardless of how powerful or almighty Paramapurusha may be. But first and foremost, he is my father. So I have a direct relationship with him. Whatever my problems or whatever happiness comes my way, I can always communicate with Paramapurusha. So when the mind of the sadhaka is even more developed, then, and the degree of closeness has increased, then one feels that the supreme entity is my friend, he is my bandhu, he is even more close, right? So for all the different categories that we talked about, being an atheist, being dogmatic, being a guru shishya, or being thinking of Paramapurusha as a father, of all of these kind of relationships, the relationship that we want to develop is that the relationship between me and Paramapurusha is that of Paramapurusha is a bandhu, he is my friend, he is my close friend. Then you have an intimate relationship with such a person, and he is a close friend, then your relationship will be very, very intimate. One's relationship may partially depend on one's own samskaras, inherent samskaras, the samskaras that you develop from the purva janma, right? The whatever actions that you did in the prior janma has all karma pala, right? Based on that, also your relationship with Paramapurusha may partially depend. But one thing is very, very certain, that a sadhaka can have only one relation with Paramapurusha at a particular moment, right? Over the course of one's life, the relationship may progress with sincere sadhana. So sadhana is the way for developing your relationship with Paramapurusha, right? Paramapurusha can have one type of relationship a sadhaka can have one type of relationship with Paramapurusha, like how I was describing, right? A sadhaka should select the relationship that is most suited to their inner feelings. So ultimately, the unit consciousness, the jivatma, has to merge into the supreme consciousness. Without an extreme intimacy, one cannot attain that yoga. Yoga, we said from the beginning, we have been saying yoga is the aikya of the jivatma and paramatma, the merger of the jivatma and paramatma. And in order to attain this merger, one has to have that intimate relationship, right? Another name for merging the jivatma with the paramatma is called as the surrender, sharanagatihi. You have to complete surrender to Paramapurusha. Then you have this bhakti, when you have the close relationship with Paramapurusha, then there is automatic surrender with Paramapurusha. So that is what I want to close on the topic of sharanagatihi, surrender, developing intimate relationship with Paramapurusha. That is only possible through sadhana. And for doing sadhana, you have to learn sadhana according to the prescribed method. For that, you have to come to the Shivir in December, which is in Varanasi, right? So you have to learn it from a proper teacher, how to do sadhana. So you all are encouraged to come to, you all have to actually make plans. Not only encourage, you all have to actually make plans. And the Shivir will be in December for sure. So all of you make plans, and don't have any other programs during that time. Reserve that time for learning sadhana, because you want to learn how to develop this intimate relationship with Paramapurusha, and that is not possible without learning sadhana. So all of you make plans and be ready for our program in December, which will be very, very worthwhile. It will be a life-changing experience, and life is very, very short, right? So we should not waste time. So we have to develop this relationship with Paramapurusha, and for that Shivir is the only way, right? So all of you make plans and think about coming to our Shivir. Okay. With that said, I want to go back to our topic that we were discussing. What is this world, right? What is this Jagat? So we started out by saying that Brahma is a supreme multiple of multiplicities of unit consciousness. So Brahma is a sum total of all the Jivatmas, the manifested Jivatmas, and also the Jivatmas which are in unmanifested form, which are in the seed form. So the Brahma is a sum total of all of that. So he's not just a sum total of the Jivatmas which are there in the human beings, but also he's beyond that of all the Jivatmas which are in unmanifested form, which are in the potential form. He's a sum total of all of that. So we also had a question that did this infinite number of unit consciousness exist before Brahma, or Brahma himself multiply into these Jivatmas, right? So we've been always been saying that this Purusha is Anadi Ananta Satta, which is Karana Rahita, doesn't have any Karana. So if the Purusha is causeless, then the unit consciousness, which is also the same consciousness, is also non-causal, doesn't have a Karana, doesn't have a cause, and it is also Anadi and Anant, right? But when we look at the history of the earth, we know that the human beings are not causeless. Even though the Jivatma is causeless, but the human beings are not causeless, right? So human beings are not the first living beings on this earth, right? So we also saw how that the earth was formed from the sun. The sun cooled down and then it became water, and then finally land, and then slowly the creation started. We had single cell organisms, and then plants, and then animals, and then eventually the human beings evolved, right? Human beings evolved later on, right, after the earth was formed. So human beings depend on the earth for their origin, right? So the human beings are non-causal, but the Jivatma is causeless, and it existed even before the human beings. It existed even before the human beings, and when the human beings got created, the unit consciousness got attached to these human beings, right? The Jivatma, the unit consciousness of the Jivatma is causeless. It just got attached to the human beings when they got created. The human beings are causeless. The human beings are having a cause. Jivatma is causeless, right? So we said that the infinite number of unit consciousness did not exist as originally as units. Even though they were in the potential form, they did not exist as units. And when the human beings got created, then Brahma reflected himself as these unit consciousness, and they got attached to the human beings. So this is how we saw that how the human beings got their Jivatma from the cosmic consciousness, right? Also we said that if human beings have consciousness, then they must have got the consciousness from somewhere, right? So the consciousness was always there. It's Anadi Ananta Satta. It did not get created. So how did the human beings get the consciousness? So because before the human beings, earth was there, so the earth must have had the consciousness, and that is how the human beings must have got the consciousness from the earth. And how did the earth get it? The earth got it from the Jalam, from the Jala Tattva. The earth got the consciousness. And how did the Jala get the consciousness? It got the consciousness from the Agni, from Agni Tattva. How did the Agni Tattva get the consciousness? It got it from the Vayu Tattva. How did the Vayu Tattva get the consciousness? It got it from the Akasha Tattva. How did the Akasha Tattva get the consciousness? It got it directly from Brahma. So Brahma himself manifested as Akasha. He himself manifested as Vayu. He himself manifested as Agni. He himself manifested as Jalam. He himself manifested as Prithvi. And that is how the human beings got the consciousness from the Prithvi. That is how we saw that in the last 3 paragraphs that we discussed in the prior session. And we said that just like if milk had butter in it, if milk did not have butter in it, then we could not get the butter out of milk using a churning machine, right? It exists, even though butter cannot be identified separately in milk, it still exists in milk, and that is how by churning the milk we get the butter. In the same way, the unit consciousness, even though it was dormant in the earth, and when the human beings were created and they had a human mind, and the unit consciousness that was existing in the earth, that was dormant in the earth, then got reflected as units and got attached to the human beings. So that is what we saw so far. We'll continue from here further. So moving on to the next paragraph. Pushpalata Bhagini, do you want to take it? Next paragraph.
Bhagini. A human being has unique consciousness, and so the ethereal factor must also have it. If we did not have consciousness, how could a human being who has been created from it have unique consciousness? The ethereal factor is crude. It has no shape, nor can its size be measured. It contains nothing and it is void. Yet it is called crude because sound can travel through it. The fact that sound waves can be formed in it shows that there must be something which makes sound waves possible and which gives either a crude character, and which gives either a crude character. Ether a crude character. Although ether is called crude, it has not crude substance in it. It is nothingness, void, and just space. But logically, it has to be admitted that it contains consciousness. Otherwise, human beings who have formed from the ether could not be able to get unit consciousness. And the only entity which can be in the ether is consciousness. For instance, we find water in ice because it is made of water and contains nothing except water. Similarly, ether, which contains nothing except consciousness, has to be made of consciousness. Consciousness is in Brahma, and so ether has its origin only in Brahma. Thus, the ethereal factor or Vyoma Tattva has originated from Brahma, as has the rest of the universe as the origin of air, fire, water, earth, and the entire plant and animal kingdom has been shown to originate only from the ethereal factor. Therefore, the entire creation is only made of Brahma. Brahma alone is the cause of the creation of the universe. So, just go up a little. That is, this paragraph tells that human being has a unique consciousness, and so the ethereal factor also must have it. If it did not have the consciousness, then how could a human being who has been created from it have unique consciousness? So the ethereal factor is crude. It has no shape or size, but it contains nothing and it's void. That is, it has nothingness in it. But it is called crude because sound waves can travel through it. The fact that sound waves can be formed in it shows that there must be something which makes sound possible. Sound waves possible to go through it, and which gives ether a crude character. Although ether is called crude, it has no crude substance in it. It is nothingness, and so it has nothingness, and so it is void and just only a space. But logically it has to be admitted that it contains consciousness. Otherwise, the human beings which is created from it could not have got the consciousness. So it is the entire conscious entity which can be in the ether. The only entity which is in the ether is the consciousness, and this ether, which contains nothing but consciousness, has to be made of consciousness. Consciousness is in Brahma, and so either has its origin only in Brahma. Thus the ethereal factor or the Vyoma Tattva has originated from Brahma, and as the rest of the universe as the origin of air, now the origin of air, fire, water and earth, and also the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom has been derived from the ethereal factor, which is already derived only from Brahma. And so Brahma alone is the creator of the entire universe and has made up of all these different factors and multiple unit consciousness, divided into multiple unit consciousness. So Brahma creates all these factors, the kingdoms. That's what this paragraph says. So finally, ultimately, Brahma is the creator of the unity of the universe.
Yes, Padmi, nicely said, nicely explained. That was beautifully explained. Okay, so yes, so what we are saying is that before the creation, before all these different kingdoms got created, right? There was nothing but even before the Pancha Bhutas, there was nothing but consciousness, right? Consciousness was always there. Consciousness is the only thing which is a nitya vastu, which is a which is always there, which is nitya, right? So there is no other ingredient to make anything out of except for consciousness. So everything that we see in front of us, this paridrishyamanam jagat, everything we are seeing is made nothing but is made out of consciousness, right? That is the mula samagri. The mula samagri for this creation is consciousness, and that is the only thing which is beyond the karya karana bhava, and that is the only thing which has no beginning, right? That is the only thing which has no end. Consciousness has no beginning, nor it has end, nor it has end, right? So so now what we see is that a human being, right, that one principle. So the second thing is that we are actually seeing the human beings, right? So something cannot come out of nothing. Human beings have consciousness, so something cannot come out of nothing. It is not that all of a sudden the consciousness got created at the human being stage, right? We're being saying that consciousness is causeless, so it was always there. And how did the human beings come? When we see the history of human beings, we know that they have come from the earth. So if the consciousness is not there in the earth, they could have human beings could not have got it, right? So it must have been there in the earth, and that is how the human beings got it. So something cannot come from nothing. So when we see that a human being has unit consciousness, then that unit consciousness with which the human being is born, right? So whatever that human being came from had to have had that unit consciousness, right? So that is the idea over here. For example, we look at a stone, we do not perceive it as something having consciousness. The stone, it is very inert, it doesn't look like it is having consciousnness, right? But because the basic ingredient out of which everything is made, right, that is to say, solid, liquid, fire, air, space, because we human beings, we are made of these panchabhutas, we are made out of these 5 elements, right? The kshiti tattva, agni tattva, vayu tattva, akasha tattva, right? We are made of these panchabhutas. So, and because of each of these elements, we are going to see emerges one out of the next, right? That has already been described a little bit in the previous paragraph, right? So one emerges out of the other, right? So that the earth came from the sun, and the sun came from the air, and then air came from the ethereal factor, right? So the earth came from the sun, and then the earth actually came from water, and water came from sun, and sun came from air, and air came from space, from akasha tattva. You can see one is emerging from the other, right? So the consciousness had to have been present in each of those factors as well, because otherwise this notion that something cannot come from nothing, right? So if the consciousness was not present in earth, then human beings who came from earth could not have got consciousness, So wherever they've gotten the consciousness, in turn we take the same notion all the way back up to the Akasha Tattva. So the Akasha Tattva must have had consciousness. That is how the consciousness came to the Vayu Tattva, and Vayu Tattva had the consciousness. That is how it came to the Agni Tattva. Agni Tattva had consciousness. That is how it came into the Jala Tattva. Jala Tattva had consciousness. That is how it came into the Prithvi Tattva. Prithvi Tattva had consciousness. That is how it came into the human beings. So that is the sequence, right? So the Akasha Tattva, ether, right, as it has been said, is basically nothing, right? We cannot see ether with our indriyas. It is basically voidness or space, which contains nothing, right? But human beings have ultimately in turn come from that very ether. So human beings have consciousness, so that ether which we don't see contains anything else, but it should have consciousness. Otherwise, how did or where did the human beings get their consciousness from? So ether must have consciousness. Ultimately, ether has, and we're going to be talking about it in more detail in the following paragraph, but that ether emerges out of Brahma. So Brahma, we have taken it in the reverse course. Starting from human beings, we know have consciousness, and taking back what causes of each one step by step, ultimately getting back to the ultimate cause, Brahma, the Purusha, right? Purusha, the consciousness. That is the ultimate ingredient for everything, right? Consciousness is the cause of the consciousness which is present everywhere in all of those sequentially developed constituents or tattvas, as well as being the cause of everything else that there is in this universe, right? So whether you're talking about the Akasha Tattva all the way up to the Prithvi Tattva, Kshiti Tattva. Prithvi Tattva is also called as the Kshiti Tattva. And then from there to single-celled organisms, to plants, to animals, and to human beings, the only ingredient that we're going to be seeing in the following paragraph is this Paramapurusha, right? So the only samagri for this whole universe, everything in this universe is made of Paramapurusha. There is nothing but Paramapurusha, because that was the only ingredient that was always there, and everything that came subsequently must have gotten the consciousness from that same samagri, right? So this whole paridrishyamana jagat is made of one ingredient, and that is consciousness, that is Paramapurusha. Okay, so we will move on to the next paragraph. Hamsini Bhagini, do you want to take it? Namaskara Bhagini.
Namaskara. Uh, Saguna Brahma, qualified consciousness, is the cause of creation of the universe. In other words, the universe has originated from Saguna Brahma. But if Saguna Brahma or Bhagavan created the universe, a very pertinent question arises. Pertinent question arises about the availability of the material or stuff from which the universe was made. Saguna Brahma also needs material to create universe, just as the potter needs clay to make pots. A potter obtains his clay from earth, so then he has Saguna Brahma also obtain the material from someone else. The material and its owner from whom Saguna Brahma borrowed it must have existed before even Saguna Brahma came into being, and that this owner is bigger than Saguna Brahma has to be admitted. It could not otherwise be available to Saguna Brahma. It has already been accepted that Brahma is non-causal. Nothing existed before Brahma, so the material from which the universe is made could not have existed before Brahma. What could be the material of which the Saguna Brahma made the universe if nothing existed before or beyond it? The universe, which is so visibly existent, could not have been created out of nothing. The only material available to Saguna Brahma for creation was its own self. Hence, it has to be accepted that this creation is only Saguna Brahma metamorphosed into all that we find in the universe. Saguna Brahma qualified consciousness as the cause of the creation of the universe. So the universe was created by Saguna Brahma. In other words, the universe has originated from Saguna Brahma. But if Saguna Brahma or Bhagavan created the universe, a very pertinent question arises about the availability of the material or stuff from which the universe was made. If Saguna Brahma created the universe, people wonder about what the universe is made of. Saguna Brahma also needs some material to create the universe, just as the potter needs clay to make pots. A potter obtains his clay from the earth. So then has Saguna Brahma also obtained material from someone else? It's asking, did Saguna Brahma obtain the material to create the universe from something else, similar to how a potter makes pots out of clay? The material and its owner, from whom Saguna Brahma borrowed it, must have existed even before Saguna Brahma came into being, and that is the owner bigger than Saguna Brahma has to be admitted. I think it's saying that it's adding on to the answer to the question, since the universe was made of something and Saguna Brahma was made of something, what was he made of? Because it has to exist before him in order to make it. It could not have otherwise been available to Saguna Brahma. It has already been accepted that Brahma is non-causal. Nothing existed before Brahma, and so the material from which the universe is made could not have existed before Brahma. It's saying that Brahma is the creator of the universe, so he can't exactly be made of something if he is the start of all the life. What could be the material of which Saguna Brahma made this universe if nothing existed before or beyond it? The universe is so visibly extant and could not have been created out of nothing. It's adding to the answer of what is the universe made out of if nothing existed before it? Like, what was the material that the universe was exactly made out of? The only material available to Saguna Brahma for creation was its own self. Hence, it has to be accepted that this creation is only Saguna Brahma metamorphosed into all that we can find in the universe. I think it's saying that himself was the only material that Saguna Brahma had. Therefore, the universe can only be made out of Saguna Brahma himself.
Okay, Bhagini. Okay, nicely said. Nicely said. I'll explain a few points that will become clear to you. So, what you need to understand is that Brahma is one, right? In some places, Brahma is Nirguna. In some places, he is Saguna. Saguna means with the gunas, right? So, Brahma always has gunas. Prakriti and Purusha together are called as Brahma, right? As you know. Prakriti and Purusha are together called as Brahma. Prakriti is the unique qualifying force. Prakriti has these three gunas, Sattva guna, Rajo guna and Tamo guna. These gunas qualify the Purusha. At the Nirguna state, Prakriti is dormant, right? She is not active, even though she has her gunas, but she is not able to influence the Purusha. But in some places where Purusha gives permission, then Prakriti is able to influence Purusha, and then when Prakriti influences Purusha, then this Jagat is created. So how you can imagine this Nirguna and Saguna Brahma is that you can say there is the ocean, and there is an ocean of this Nirguna Purusha, right? Let's say there is an ocean of Nirguna Purusha, and in the ocean, there are certain places where there are icebergs, right? Due to the environmental condition, there are icebergs. So we can say these icebergs are the Saguna Brahma, and the entire ocean is the Nirguna Brahma. The iceberg is the Saguna Brahma. The environmental factors, we can say they are Prakriti, and the iceberg is Saguna Brahma. Iceberg is nothing but water, right? So iceberg, the Saguna Brahma, is also consciousness. It's nothing but consciousness. It's kind of a different form of consciousness. Ice is nothing but water. Water is Nirguna Purusha. So that is how we have to understand. So everything that is made, even the iceberg is made of water. So the only ingredient to make something is water there in the ocean. Like that. That is one example. Or you can think as a spider, right? When the spider creates, this is very, very laukika udarana, laukika example. So when you think of a spider, right, when it wants to create the web, how does it create the web? It has the material within itself. It's using itself to create this web, right? When you look at the spider web, it's not getting the material from somewhere outside. It is using its own material, and it's creating this web. Like that, Brahma, right? Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma, they are essentially the same Brahma. In some places, Saguna Brahma, where Prakriti has impacted, and by the gunas, where you have with the gunas where Prakriti is active, there we have Saguna Brahma. Where Prakriti is not active, there we have the Nirguna Brahma. In the Saguna Brahma, where Prakriti is very active, that is when the Shristi happens, right? So how does the Saguna Brahma create this world and create all the Panchabhutas, right? The Saguna Brahma creates this world using nothing but consciousness, using its own material. There is no other material in this world. Before this whole world appeared, and before this Srishti appeared, what was there? There was nothing but consciousness. Consciousness was the only thing that was there. So if consciousness had to create something, it cannot use something else outside. There is nothing else available, right? So that it has to use itself to create this universe. So it used its own consciousness to create this world. So when we say Saguna Brahma, it means the Purusha with the Prakriti who is active, and therefore they are able to create something, right? When we say metamorphose, means it appeared. Saguna Brahma used its own ingredient to appear as this world, to appear as Panchabhuta, right? So just like how ice, right, the water transformed into ice, like that Saguna Brahma transformed into this universe. Saguna Brahma transformed into the different Panchabhutas. Just like water transformed into ice, like that Saguna Brahma transformed himself into these different components of this world, right? The Panchabhutas, this Paridrishyamanam Jagat, this universe. So just like water converted himself into ice, like that the Saguna Brahma himself appeared as this universe. So everything in this universe is made of only one ingredient, that is nothing but consciousness, right? So up till now we have been saying that the cause of the universe is Brahma, and now in this paragraph we're talking about it in two different ways. One is that Saguna Brahma is the cause of the creation of the universe, and at the same time a material is needed. So how, like in other like Nyaya Shastra, other Shastra, they talk about this Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana, right? Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana. If there is a potter, right, the Upadana Karana is the material cause, right? If a potter has to make pot, what does he need? He needs material, right? Clay is the material cause of the pot. Clay is the material cause of the pot, and the potter is the Nimitta Karana, right? He's the intelligent cause. He's the Nimitta Karana. So in order to make the pot, we need Upadana Karana and we need the Nimitta Karana. Upadana Karana is the material that we need, and the Nimitta Karana is somebody who has the knowledge of how to make the pot, right? That is the Nimitta Karana. So like that, in this universe, how did this universe get made? What is the material? The material is nothing but consciousness, and who is making this universe? That is also consciousness. So Parama Purusha, the Brahma, is both the material cause and also is the Nimitta Karana, the intelligent cause, right? He's both. So both, there are two different types of Karana here, and consciousness Brahma is both the cause, both these different causes. So what we are actually saying is that the Saguna Brahma has come from the Nirguna Brahma by the qualification of Prakriti. So there was water, that water, because of the influence of Prakriti, transformed into ice, right? So we can say the ice is the Saguna Brahma and the water is the Nirguna Brahma. So essentially both of them are the same, they are not different, right? So when I say come from, that has to be understood. Every time the step of language is used, you have to understand the setting. Just like when I say that Saguna Brahma has come from Paramatma, but you have to understand that both of them are Anadi Anant. Saguna Brahma, it doesn't mean it is just got created. Saguna Brahma is always there and the Nirguna Brahma is always there. So that means the same Brahma, in some places it appears as Saguna and some places it appears as Nirguna. Both of them are essentially the same Brahma. Both of them are Anadi Ananta Satta. Both of them don't have a beginning and both of them don't have a end. So when we say come, one has come from the other. When I say Saguna Brahma has come from the Nirguna Brahma, it does not mean that the Nirguna Brahma is the Karana for the Saguna Brahma. It is just the way of expressing. There is a limitation of the language. So, so in the same way, Saguna Brahma did not, we talk about the beginning, but there was no time when there was no Shristi. Shristi was always there. Shristi is always there. It's an ongoing process. Saguna Brahma has always been there. There is not a day when Saguna Brahma was not there. Even though we say Saguna Brahma came from Nirguna Brahma, doesn't mean that it got created. So it was always there. Saguna Brahma is always there. Nirguna Brahma is always there. And the Srishti is also always ongoing, right? And this Saguna Brahma is one part of the Karana for this Srishti. Just like the potter is the cause of the pot, right? And he also needs the material to create the pot. He needs the clay to create the pot. The same way, the Saguna Brahma is the material for this universe, and he is also the intelligent cause. He is the one who knows how to make this universe. He has the knowledge. So he is both the Nimitta Karana and the Upadana Karana. Upadana Karana means material cause. So when Saguna Brahma is going to manage this gunification of the Nirguna Purusha by Prakriti, then we see that Nirguna Purusha is the clay. So the clay is also needed, right? We said water is made of ice, right? So that water is what we need for everything, right? Just for understanding. So just like in the case of pot, we need the clay, and for the case of the universe, the clay is that Nirguna Purusha. So that clay is needed, and also the potter is needed, and that potter is the Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma is the one with knowledge to create this universe. So essentially everything is coming from the Brahma ultimately. So there is actually only one cause, and that cause is Brahma. Upadana Karanam and the Nimitta Karanam, both of them are coming from only one source, that is the Brahma. And that Nirguna Brahma is bigger than the Saguna Brahma. That Saguna Brahma is gunified, right? So we have this ocean of Nirguna Brahma. In this ocean of Nirguna Brahma, there are some pockets where there are icebergs because of the influence of Prakriti, because of the gunas of Prakriti, we have the icebergs. And in the rest of the places, we have this water, the ocean. So the Saguna Brahma is essentially part of the Nirguna Brahma, but Saguna Brahma is not different. It is the same Brahma, but this Nirguna Purusha is much, much bigger than the Saguna Brahma, right? So that is the explanation of that explanation. So ultimately, what we begin to see is that because the Saguna Brahma has come out of Nirguna Brahma, then ultimately that Brahma is going to be bigger than Saguna Brahma. It is the ultimate cause. It is the cause of everything. It is the source for which the potter is making the pot. It is also the source of the clay. It is the source for everything. So Brahma is the source, is both the intelligent cause and the material cause. It is only one source. There is only one samagri for everything. So no matter what you analyze the cause is coming from the Nirguna Purusha, is coming from Brahma. Brahma is made of Nirguna Purusha and Prakriti, the material out of which this universe is made, and that force that qualifying force which is making the universe, both of them are coming out of Brahma. That is what this paragraph is talking about. Any questions? You're following along? Hamsini Bagni, it is clear now?
Yes, a little bit more clear.
Okay, any questions?
What, so can I just like put like a one sentence summary, and can you tell me if like I'm correct?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and explain? I'll see if it's making sense to you. Yeah.
Is it like the universe is made out of Brahma himself, like Saguna Brahma himself?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like, because like just like you said, like the spider doesn't make the spider web from another source. It kind of makes it from its own resources that come from itself. Same way, the whole entire universe is made out of Brahma, Saguna Brahma himself. And because before that, all that existed was conscious.
Yeah, before that nothing existed except for Brahma. Brahma was the only one that existed before the Shristi.
Then was Brahma consciousness himself?
So Brahma has two components, right? Brahma has consciousness and also has Prakriti. Consciousness is nothing but Purusha. Purusha is consciousness and Prakriti is the force, the qualifying force. Prakriti has three gunas. So when we say Brahma, it means it has two components. One is consciousness, that is Purusha, and the other is Prakriti. Prakriti is the force, right? So when we say Nirguna Brahma, what happens is that there is consciousness and there is Prakriti. So consciousness and Prakriti are like two sides of a coin. You can never separate them, right? They're always together. In some places, Prakriti is able to influence Purusha, consciousness. In some places, she is not able to influence her force, right? In the places where she is not able to influence her gunas, Prakriti, there we call as Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma means the Prakriti's gunas are not influencing Purusha. Prakriti has the gunas, but they are dormant. In the dormant state, we call as Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna, Guna Rahita, without gunas, right? That means the gunas are not impacting the Purusha. Whereas in the Saguna Brahma, again Saguna Brahma means there is both Purusha and Prakriti. There is both consciousness and Prakriti. But here Prakriti is having an upper hand. Because the Purusha is giving permission, Prakriti is having an upper hand and she is able to influence the Purusha. So the Purusha becomes now Saguna. He becomes Saguna. That means with gunas. Gunena saha. Saguna. Then with the gunas, then the gunas having more power, they are influencing the Purusha. And because of the influence of the gunas, this whole Srishti is happening. And the material for that is nothing but consciousness. Consciousness is the only material. Because Prakriti is not material, she is force. Right? So what is the material? Consciousness is the only material for making this universe. Is that clear, Bhagini?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So we say Saguna Brahma metamorphosed into all that we find in the universe. Means Saguna Brahma appeared. He used himself. He used his own material to create this universe. So just like a spider creating its web using its own material, like that Saguna Brahma created his own material to create this universe. So Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma are not different. Brahma is only one. But in some places, Brahma appears as Saguna. In some places, he appears as Nirguna. Where he appears as Saguna Brahma, then the Srishti happens. Where he appears as Nirguna Brahma, there is nothing. There is nothingness. It's just pure consciousness. Nothing but pure consciousness and Prakriti. Right? Okay, just like a ocean, in some places we have ice. That ice is Saguna Brahma. In some places we have water, that is Nirguna Brahma. But Saguna Brahma is nothing but water only, right? Because ice is nothing but water. So essentially Brahma is one, but he appears in different forms in different places. Right? Okay. So we can go further to the next paragraph. This one. Shubham Bhagni, do you want to take the next paragraph?
Okay, Bhagini.
Namaskar, Bhagini.
Namaskar.
The entire universe is formed from Saguna Brahma. It is only Saguna Brahma which is manifested as this creation. Is not then the statement that Saguna Brahma is omnipresent incorrect. To say that Brahma is present in a book means that the book is a separate entity and Brahma occupies that entity. This gives the impression of two separate entities, Brahma and the book, which appears to be outside of outside Saguna Brahma. This is completely incorrect, as it has already been established that everything is made of Brahma. It has assumed the shape of everything, hence the correct thing to say would be that the book is Brahma, or that it has assumed the shape of a book also. This shows that the book and Brahma are not two separate entities, and the book did not exist before Brahma. This alone is the correct expression, for Brahma is infinite and eternal, and nothing can exist beyond or before it. The book could not have existed before Brahma. In fact, nothing could have existed before Brahma. Every speck of dust is only Brahma. Uh, the entire universe is created from Brahma. It is only Brahma which is manifested as this creation. Is not then the statement that Saguna Brahma is omnipresent incorrect? Bhagini, what is meaning by omnipresent?
Omnipresent means present everywhere. There's no place where he is not there. He's present everywhere.
Is not then the statement that Saguna Brahma is omnipresent incorrect? To say that Brahma is present in a book means the book is a separate entity and Brahma occupies that entity. Okay, like when we say that something is present in anything, it means like they both are different things. This gives the impression of two separate entities, Brahma and book, which appears to be outside Saguna Brahma. This is completely incorrect, as it has already been established that everything is made of Brahma. It has assumed the shape of everything, hence the correct thing to say would be that the book is Brahma, or it has assumed the shape of a book also. Like we are talking that if a book is made from Brahma, then we cannot say that Brahma is in book. Like correct thing will be saying book is Brahma, and that Brahma has assumed the shape of that book. This shows that book and Brahma are not two separate entities, and that the book did not exist before Brahma. If we are saying that Brahma is in book, it doesn't mean that they both are separate, and they are like book is Brahma and book did not exist before Brahma, because nothing is before Brahma, so book did not exist before Brahma. This alone is the correct expression, for Brahma is infinite and eternal, and nothing can exist beyond or before it. Brahma is infinite, eternal, and nothing can exist beyond or before it. The book could not have existed before Brahma. In fact, nothing could have existed before Brahma. Everything is only Brahma. Every speck of dust is only Brahma. Bhagini, so in this paragraph, like they are saying ki if we say ki Brahma is present in book, we can conclude two things from this, like both Brahma and book are separate and book existed before Brahma, but both statements are not correct, because Brahma, nothing can be existed before Brahma, and Brahma and book are not separate entities, like they are both are same,
and Brahma, the book is Brahma itself, and that Brahma took the shape of that book, and everything is Brahma, like every dust speck is also Brahma. So we concluded two things, like nothing is before Brahma and everything is Brahma.
Yeah, Bhagini, I think you got the point. Let me say something more. I think it will then become clear. But nicely said, Bhagini. Thank you so much. Nicely expressed. So the thing is, the point this paragraph is trying to explain is it is trying to show the difference between saying that there is Brahma in the book and the book is Brahma. So when we say God is present in me, right, when I say God is present in me, that means I am different and God is different, right? So when we say God is omnipresent, when we say Brahma is omnipresent, that means it's present in everything. That means Brahma is separate and the other entity is separate. If I say Brahma is in this book, Brahma is in this table, Brahma is in this computer, Brahma is in me, that means Brahma is different and I'm different. But that is not the right way of expressing that Brahma is present in this, present in that. No. That means when we say Brahma is present in this, that means we are saying Brahma is not present in something else, or we are saying Brahma is present in everything, but even then it means we are saying that we are two separate entities. When I say I have a book in my hand, right, the book is separate, my hand is separate. Like that, when we say God is in me, right, it means that I am a separate entity and Brahma is a separate entity. But that is not the point over here. This is the critical point that is being explained. Right? If we say that there is Brahma in the book, then the statement that Saguna Brahma is omnipresent comes to be incorrect. That is a critical point. The sense is that if we say that there is Brahma in the book, then there are other things on here besides Brahma. Right? When we say there is Brahma in the book, that means Brahma is also there. The book is also there. Right? So that means besides the Saguna Brahma, there is something else. If we say that there is Saguna Brahma in the book, then there is something else besides that in the book. Right? In the book, if we say Saguna Brahma is there, that means there's something else also in the book. Right? But it also contains Saguna Brahma, but not only that. So that is the distinction that is being made over here. Again and again, what we are coming back to here is that consciousness is the ingredient out of which this entire universe is made, and there is nothing else. So when we say this book is nothing but Brahma. We cannot say Brahma is in the book, but this book is nothing but Brahma. There is no other ingredient in this book other than Brahma. If you say Brahma is in this book, then that means there could be something else also in this book. But that is not the point. The point is Brahma is the book. Brahma himself appears as this book. Brahma himself appears as this plate. Brahma himself appears as this laptop. Brahma appears as this spectacle. Brahma appears as this book, as this watch. Everything, every speck of dust in this universe is Brahma. So therefore, it is not correct to say that Brahma is in the book. We have to say Brahma is the book, right? So it contains Saguna Brahma and nothing but the Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma is the only ingredient. Consciousness, Saguna Brahma, the consciousness and Prakriti, both of them, they are what makes this book, right? So that is what we are coming again and again, that this only ingredient out of which this whole universe is made of is consciousness, nothing but consciousness, right? Consciousness with the impact of the gunas of Prakriti. So if we use a type of language which implies that there is something else, then it just sounds like as if that Saguna Brahma is not omnipresent, right? So the language we use and the thought process we undergo to describe this entire universe is very important, right? If we look at different cosmologies and different philosophies, we have to be precise in the use of language to make sure we are correctly understanding what is actually going on. That there is only one ingredient out of which everything is made, not two, not multiple. It is not that there is also Brahma in the book, but the book is also made of something else. That is not what we are trying to imply. When we say omnipresent, that means It is everywhere. It is everywhere. That means everything is appearing. Whatever is appearing in this world is nothing but Brahma. The book is Brahma. Everything else is Brahma. That is what this paragraph is trying to imply. Does that make sense, Bhagini? Shubham Bhagini?
Yes, Bhagini. Yes, Bhagini.
Okay, good, thank you. So what I would like to do right now is that both Hamsini Bhagini and Shubham Bhagini and Pusholata Bhagini, all of you are here. So I know that there was Shubham Bhagini, you had done Ekadashi Upavasa before, right? I wanted to ask you to share your experience for those people who have not done Upavasa here, so they can understand how your experience was with the Ekadashi Upavasa and breaking fast. How did you manage all that? Can you share your experience?
Yes, Bhagini. It's a nice experience. Like when I decide to do fast on some random day, I cannot keep it. Like I eat after some time or drink water. But on Ekadasi, I don't feel there's some force like that. I don't even desire to eat that thing. Like there is no desire for food. Other days I'm just like I'm so hungry. I want to eat. And but on that day I don't have any type of desire. That fasting day is okay, but the other day when we have to drink that salt and lemon water, that is little difficult because we don't have energy from the previous day, and then we have to like drink that water. I think more difficult than fasting. But if and then like our body gets क्या बोलते हैं, clean, and when we go in washroom and our body feels like it's clean and we cannot put some non-healthy food inside, so we have that again that desire to eat healthy food and follow sattvic bhojana. So that's all, Bhagini. Like it's a nice experience.
Yeah, very nice, Bhagini. Thank you so much. That's nicely said. So what you're bringing up, what the one interesting point you're bringing about here is that on Ekadashi, you're saying there is no desire even to eat, right? Even though you have hunger, you don't feel the motivation to eat. So there is some force which is actually, yeah, yes, that is very interesting.
Others day I eat breakfast and lunch, and when I come to home, I was like, I will go to home and directly cook some food and eat. But yesterday I didn't eat or drink anything, and when I was returning home, then there was no desire. Like I'm not hungry. That was feeling. I was surprised the other day. I'm so hungry now. I'm not feeling any hunger.
Yeah, so that's very, very interesting point. So it's essentially the mental preparation that you do before the Upavasa, right? Before the Ekadashi Upavasa, you mentally prepare, you mentally tell yourself your body is not going to get food tomorrow, right? When you do that mental preparation, then automatically the body is not demanding for food. It's not hungry at all. Whether it is, at if you're the regular time where you eat your meal, that time maybe little bit you might feel hungry, and then after that it's completely gone. The rest of the day you're not hungry at all. Your body is not asking for food, it's not asking for water, nothing, because the intent is that you're wanting to stay close with Paramapurusha. That is what is Upavasa means, staying close with Paramapurusha. When you're staying close with Paramapurusha, when in your mind you've decided that you're doing this for Paramapurusha, then automatically there is no desire that comes in your mind, right, for food or water, for anything. And the body gets complete rest from food and water, and your mind is actually staying closer with Paramapurusha, and you're in fact you're actually very active that day. It's not like you're very lazy, you're lethargic, and you're not doing whatever you're supposed to do. It's not like that. Bhagini went to work and she worked the whole day, she did all of that, and then she came back home even still not wanting food. There was a lot of energy, right? Sometimes we underestimate ourselves, saying, oh, I'll be very tired, I might faint and this and that, but actually it's not like that, right? When you do the mental preparation, your body is more than ready to do the upavasa, and actually we're designed for doing these upavasas because they give a break to our entire system, and also it helps to do the cleansing of the body, right? Your body needs rest, it needs complete rest. your digestive system needs complete rest from the process of digestion and all that. And then the next day morning when you do the breaking the fast, following that procedure of drinking warm water with salt and lemon, right, your body gets completely cleansed, your gut gets completely cleansed. You haven't cleaned your gut from your birth, right? It gets completely cleaned, and all the waste, everything you get rid of all the waste material. So then your stomach becomes like a newborn baby, right? And it's so clean and so fresh, and every pore of your skin is just like thanking you, and it's just like your body is like completely thanking you, saying, oh my god, you gave me this rest, and I'm like now ready to function again. And then as Bagni was saying, you don't want to put any junk inside then, because your body is like completely clean, and then you feel like, no, I want to eat good and healthy food because I just cleaned my body, right? So just like when you clean your house, then you don't feel like putting dust or junk anywhere, because like, oh my god, I cleaned it, I took so much of effort cleaning this house, and now I don't want to make it dirty. The same way, when you took so much of effort going through the ekadashi fast and cleaning and all that, then you feel like I need to keep the system clean, so then you won't have any desire to put junk in your body. You feel guilty doing that. So that is the most important thing. It's a very beautiful experience, and Hamsini Bagni, you should definitely try, and even Pushpalata Bagni, you should try doing this ekadashi fast. Any other thoughts or comments before we close? Yeah, thank you. So we will actually end the session over here, unless you have any other questions. Okay, astu tarhi dhanyavadah, namaskarah.
धन्यवादः भगिनि.
धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.